Namaskar. Welcome to the 30th module of Digital Library. The last but one, the module which will cover about the case studies of a digital library software called Greenstone Digital Library Software, that is GSDL. It's an open source software for building digital library collections. The basic course material of this module is taken from Dr. M.G. Srikumar, is the librarian of Indian Institute of Management, who is also the Chief Information Officer and Adjunct Professor of UNESCO Coordinator and Greenstone Support South Asia. So I'll be using his material for the case studies which he has successfully implemented in IIM, also helped all other institutes in South Asia for building their collections. So once again, I welcome to the module of open source software for building digital library collections, a case study on Greenstone Digital Library Software. The nature of user has changed since it is digitally hosted and retrieved by the user. So the role of libraries are also changing from time to time due to the technological evolutions which happened in libraries. To recap, the traditional libraries, that is traditional or automated libraries, where generally there will be an organization which is physical in nature, and there will be documents which are shelving of document based on the subject collections. Then the library professional will index it, catalog it, cards will be created, or even it can be digital catalog. These are the key areas of managing a traditional or automated libraries. The card can be real or virtual, and generally cards gives the details about a document like author, title, description. In the digital collection also, the same thing is maintained. Organization in terms of digital file and object. The difference, instead of physical file, that will be digital file or object, which contains the material in digitized form, that is the binary form, and contain digital material. When I am talking about digital, whatever you store in a computer, if it can be a photograph, it can be an ebook, it can be any other resources which is stored in the computer, is in the digital form that contains digital material. And since it is managed as a system oriented form, the architecture also will be different, how this can be managed when compared to the traditional library. And the key roles plays with the metadata, which becomes the catalog for accessing these kind of digital collections. And this also demands a shift in the technologies and approaches. Like in traditional library, we may not require many standardization. In traditional and limited and in a rigid form, you can see that you are using the same thing which in library science, which uses for cataloging DDC, UDC for classification, AACR2 or Tessari or subject catalogs, whatever is in the traditional library. In automated also the same thing will be used, but with more standardization. Like ISO 2709 came when it is traditional, when it is shifted to automated libraries. AACR2 came, CCF Mark 21 for the bibliographical record. And when it is coming into digital, we talk about more standardized form of collections where the data exchange is also possible. So the new technology like DCMI, W3 Consortium, DTDs, METS, MODE, Z39.50, Mark 21, all these become the technological words related to digital library for the efficient and flexible management of the collections. In this context, let us look into what are the features of digital library. So digital library is a dynamic electronic information system which is providing seamless access with the seamless aggregation and integration of scholarly content. This has to be created and maintained locally with the local content and can be strengthened by adopting the mechanism and capacity into a full information system and provide service with the system to the users. So this gives increased portability and gives efficiency of access, flexibility, availability, and also long-term preservation when compared to the physical collections. The content integration and the organization of this content is to be planned well in advance for assuring seamless access to the content, need for a single information gateway or access point. And I'm talking about gateway and access point. These are related to the computer network where the one point can be accessed from other machine over a network. And multi-formats, media, platforms, and content and data in different formats. That could be music, that could be picture, that could be textual data, or microfilms, or streaming videos. All data in different formats, and proper data encoding, where the role of markup languages also come. Role of metadata, how standardized catalogs or bibliographic records are used for referring to the content which is put into a centralized organized collections. And structure of this metadata, like use of XMLs or use of other standards, these are required for interoperability between the system when you try the data exchange. So one organization to second organization, if you want to share data, there should be a standard to be followed. So interface, delivery, and presentation. These are some of the important features of digital library software. The content integration and the organization of this content is to be planned well in advance for assuring seamless access to the content, need for a single information gateway or access point. And I'm talking about gateway and access point. These are related to the computer network where the one point can be accessed from other machine over a network. And multi-formats, media, platforms, and content and data in different formats. That could be music, that could be picture, that could be textual data, or microfilms, or streaming videos. All data in different formats, and proper data encoding, where the role of markup languages also come. Role of metadata, how standardized catalogs or bibliographic records are used for referring to the content which is put into a centralized organized collections. And structure of this metadata, like use of XMLs or use of other standards, these are required for interoperability between the system when you try the data exchange. So one organization to second organization, if you want to share data, there should be a standard to be followed. So interface, delivery, and presentation. These are some of the important features of digital library software. So in terms of technology for digital libraries, this has to be looked at into different angle. The open architecture. Open is a very buzzword nowadays because when you are talking about open, the access is open and that the tools which are used is also open. So open architecture, which generally gives birth to the open digital library softwares, and the componentized or monolithic system, whether you are to put it as a single object and it has to be managed in a system or distributed object, this also is to be addressed by the technology used for creating digital libraries. Then interoperability, as I mentioned in role of Z39.5 OAI PMH, OAI, that stands for Open Access Initiative, Protocol for Metadata Handling, Metadata Harvesting, OAI PMH. These are the standards and protocol used for interoperability between the digital libraries or between the systems, and unified interface for heterogeneous libraries, metadata mapping across different libraries. That I create metadata, this can be mapped by someone else also for their libraries, and they can provide a link in their library so that the full text content can be accessed from my digital library server. So OAI compliant data and service providers, while building itself, we decide that we have to use a standard supporting software which uses OAI compliant. Then multilingual digital libraries, as a lot of regional contents are coming. So support in the multilingual format is required for the new technologies. Scalable digital library architectures. Over a period of time, we need to extend the technology which is available to the future technologies, scalable. And publication tools and search and indexing tools are some of the technologies to be discussed with digital library. And if these are the technologies required for creating digital libraries, what are the essential parameters for a software selection? So the goal and requirement of specifications, the library has to decide the goal. As I mentioned, you have already seen 2-3 softwares. Case studies will be discussed in this module, it's in this total paper. So here I am going to talk about a paper which what are the specifications which is used by the software for implementing digital library. And while selecting a software, we have to also see whether we should use it a proprietary or open source software. The proprietary software is generally paid software. Money is required for buying such kind of software. But open software, which is generally free of cost, and even the user is able to change the source code of the software if it is required, and fit the existing information system, accommodate the migrations into future, and embrace all possible and predominant formats, the formats which are all defined now. There could be 100 formats which will be coming in the future. So how much support the software can give, and support a standard DL technology. Suppose I use a software, someone else sitting in other part of the world also should understand the basic underlying technologies of the software. And the software also should be easy to be installed in a library and easy to populate it in terms of collection. Also easy to maintain the digital library. And there should be comprehensive documentation for the software. And there should be a software development team where any error comes, you can just get in touch with them. And there should be active user group who use the same software for digital libraries, or email list groups, developers, etc. So these are some of the parameters to be checked before selecting any software for digital library. And what our digital library stands for? It stands for knowledge or content management, KM or CM, or manage and access internal information assets, such as you must be having annual report, your own magazines, then teaching materials, syllabus, previous question papers, and scholarly communication, education, and research. That the communication which I'm mentioning here is the material for education and research, that is e-journal, e-prints, e-books, dataset, e-learning material, and access to cultural collections like cultural heritage material, photograph, historical and special collections, museum, biodiversity data, e-governance, improve access to the government policies, plan, procedure, rules, and archiving and preserving all this kind of content into a single platform is called digital library. And what is there any alternative for DL software, or what is the expectation you are having about it? Can you have a local based application which you develop inside your organization, or you buy a software and install it? Or the last option is adopt a very popular open source software which is tested across the world. I have a couple of examples for that. We have case studies on almost all of them. Greenstone, which I'll discuss, is one among them. And ePrint is there. Many institutions are used for building their digital libraries. And DSpace, very famous software, very sophisticated software, open source software. DSpace is also a digital library software. And it is up to the user to decide which one you want to choose and implement in your organization. We also have something like CDSI, ISS, Koha, etc. for the library automation, plus digital component is also getting integrated with this kind of software. So it is up to you that alternate is available to you, what kind of model, or if you choose on one model, what kind of software you have to select. So the principle of building DL, expect change, know your content, involve the right people, design usable system, ensure open access, and beware of data rights, automate wherever is possible. Maximum automation, that user intervention should be avoided as much as possible, and adopt and adhere to the standards. Ensure quality as well as reliability of the content, and be concerned about the persistence in building. So we discussed about the technologies and the criteria of selection of this kind of software. Now, digital library is not a component which one person has to do. There could be many professionals associated with the digital library development. There could be the content creator, and there could be a reviewer, there could be a person who authorizes whether the content is to be put into this, or there should be people who will be given privileges based on the access right in digital library. So workflow is something is to be planned in advance before creating a digital library software. So workflows and processes generally take care of the content selection, who will do that, and content acquisition, then content publishing. So user right can be assigned to any of this, like content selection, content acquisition, content publishing, that is metadata preparation and content uploading, and content indexing and storage, then access and delivery. So this is preservation, access management, usage monitoring, evaluation, networking and interoperation, and maintenance. So various user will be playing various roles based on these workflows and processes. The key requirement, the document has to be created, or our document type has to be decided, whether we want to do it with book, journal, article, lecture notes, video, audio, etc. And its format is to be decided. If it is to be simple text format, or PDF scanned format, Word format, or a print script format. And after acquisition, this acquisition can be done through online, that directly the user submit the content as it is in digital form, or offline content. We start creating scanned copies, and later it is being converted into this with the metadata description, content tagging, and finally uploading this content into a digital library. Once it is done, indexing and retrieval. Many software has its own built-in feature for indexing, and retrieval will be done, or search and retrieval can be done through the interface which is provided with the software. So structured and full text indexing, automatic metadata extraction, then while storing the data, whether data compression is required, efficient storage formulating, efficient location of metadata document, then finally how this is accessed by the user, and the delivery of the content is done to the user. That is in a structured search or in a browse format. Many digital library has this browse and search option, and hierarchical browsing from community to other collections. And otherwise, this can be also distributed in a CD, in CD-ROM distribution. But generally, we talk of the digital library on the network environment. So CD-ROMs are not very popular in distributing the content now. And the other requirements are like when it is the collections are growing, how do you scale up your storage space? So this is be planned well in advance, and multilingual support. If you want to use Hindi, Devanagari script, or the South Indian languages, or any other language as such, whether the software by default, whether it's supported. Now, if people are using Unicode in any software, it has about 150 language support across the world. So such a software, if it adopted the Unicode support, can have multilingual facility in that software. Then security of it. Then the download statistic is to be monitored, usage and reporting. Then how do you compliance the software with the XML, dubbling core, Unicode I told for multilingual. Dubbling core is the standard for metadata. XML is the standard for sharing of information from one platform, one digital library to other. And as such, the interoperation, when you connect two systems, automatically one system can harvest the metadata from other system, that is OAI, Z30i, and MARC and CDS for this. These are the requirements for software. And the metadata, you have already learned that, I'm sure that metadata is nothing but it is a data about the data. The data you stored in the system should be referred with some simple metadata, simple data, that is called metadata. And documentation about the documents and object in the collection. Then describing, that is tagging the content with the object. Then information discovery from the resource base, data description. All these terms, technical terms you can see in Dublin Core, DCMI, WWW, Consortium Standard, MATS, MODS. There are so many standard XML. So how much standards you are adopting to your software? That is also one of the criteria of the digital library software selections. Now, Dublin Core, I have a slide here to see that one content can be represented with just 22 elements on that. The content, the responsibility, and manifestation of this content can be easily given a name, that is title, creator, subject, description. These are the metadata, and the definitions are given on this. This also you can read from the material supplied with the course. Now, in addition, Dublin Core also provides the full details about the metadata standards on its website, that is dublincore.org. Then visit this site and get more details. Now, this fundamentally, I was talking about the features, technology, and the planning requirement, and the technological requirement, and the standards and protocol, which are all to be taken care while choosing one digital library software. Now let us select a software. Before selecting a software, just I want to introduce the concept of open source. So I welcome to open source world, the wonderful open source world, where you will see the word open. Generally, when I am talking about open, I refer three important components: open access, that is about the publishing; the open standards, that is all the data format and standards and protocols; and finally the software. This term is borrowed from computer science, the open source software. So what is open source software? Open source software refer to the source code, that is human readable computer code, which is in its original form or source for a computer application. And open refers to the term of access to the computer source code. That means we can access the source code of the computer where a program is written. And generally when we take any software, we get the compiled program or object code or executable code, which cannot be read and understand what exactly the software is doing except the manual which says about the software. But in open source, you understand each and every line of code, what it does. That's why giving an access to the source code is something giving a user a freedom to choose his own components. So open source software is a software in which source code is freely available. And it is also distributed freely. There is no cost on it. And there are so many software in internet which is open source. So I introduced a site called SourceForge, SourceForge, sourceforge.net, where we can see the list of all the approved, at least tested open source software. So I make an open source software. If I find it is valuable, I put it in across the community to check it. Once it is okay, they include on the SourceForge.net, and anybody can download, modify it, and resubmit into the SourceForge.net. And open source softwares are available for almost all kind of platform, even for the platform creation. As you can see in the picture, the OS itself can be an open source Linux, BSD, etc. operating systems, the Ubuntu, you are using CentOS. All these are now open source operating system itself. Now you have other components like web servers, Apache, or you have server-side scripting. That is how to make a platform for scripting. So LAMB, WAMB, MAMB. LAMB stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP Perl. This is LAMB. When it is in Windows platform, it is called WAMB. So similarly, you have mobile also, mobile computing, WML, WAP, Wi-Fi. So all these are the general platform and application. You have Tomcat for web services, program languages called Perl, PHP, Python, and relational database management system, RDBMS for MySQL, PostgreSQL, MSQL. All these are the database management software in open source. Then you have application like Emacs, grep, Sentinel, secured shell. Then for image processing, ImageMagick. I thrust on this image processing, ImageMagick, which is an open source software. Later we'll be using in Greenstone also the same software. Then OI, then net and web security. All these are general platform and application. And in terms of knowledge management, let us see what are the components. We have a library automation software like Koha, NewGenLib, Evergreen, OpenBiblio, interoperability protocols, search engines, portals, MyLibrary and WordPress, OI, DPs and SPs, PHP, OI, DBMS like CDS, ISIS, WinISIS, Genesis, Serial Manager, CUFs. It's an open source again. Citation Manager, PKP Citation Manager, Ring Resolving, Godot. Then I put it in the box because this is what we are going to choose now. Open Digital Libraries, that is GSDL, DSpace, ePrint. Here we'll be using one of the software. The other two are also having case studies in the same paper. So I'll be choosing about GSDL, OpenIR, and content management system like Joomla, Drupal, Mickey. All these kind of which you see on this slide can be used as a knowledge management platform or applications or information management. Then advantages and disadvantages. Generally, advantage is that it is an internationally accepted license, open software, and you have access to source code, as I mentioned, and right to redistribute the modification to the benefit of the wider community, and it is free. And since many people are using, you have excellent support network and large and enthusiastic user base is there. Everybody will start experimenting with something or another. And little disadvantage is that since it is limited, no accountability. You cannot complain to somebody if anything goes wrong because nobody owns it. It is being developed collectively by many people, and informal and unaccountable support channels. So these are some of the things which can be considered as criteria for infrastructure, front-end design, content organization and control, content discovery, publication tools. These are the criteria at least we made whilst choosing Greenstone. The cover installations and hosting and customer support. That is what is infrastructure. Whether it covers integrator front-end, customized repository design, mobile optimized pages, whether it is in front-end, if it is optimized browsing experience is assured on this. Some of the features which is available in Greenstone is listed here. And like reporting, multimedia content, how it manages video and social features like networking, interoperability, and authentication and accessibility. Can you restrict some document? All these are the criteria for selecting the software. With all these criteria, we have at least 3 open source software. So you'll see DSpace, which is from MIT, is an open source software. ePrint, again, an open source software. And finally, the Greenstone. So Greenstone is a software from www.greenstone.org, University of Waikato. And I'll giving the introduction. And it look like this if you go to the web page. And I also warn you that open homepage may get changed anytime, but right now when we picked up the page, it is like this. And what is Greenstone then? It is found digital libraries in simple word. The aim of the software is to empower user, particularly in university library and other public service institution to build their own digital libraries. So digital libraries, you have the definition. You have been listening about digital libraries. So I'll skip this. You can read it on from my slide. After discussing the features and all other parameters for digital library, now we have come to the Greenstone. So let us see what are the features Greenstone offer. It is from the open source family, so it supports open source philosophy and interfacing and content delivery is through web, that is through internet, through network, a multi-software platform, multilingual support, multi-formats, structured metadata in XML, open standard using doubling row standards, metadata extraction, searching and browsing, plugins for documents, and full text mirroring, text level penetration, that is the search can go up to text in the content, data compression, password protection is there, and administrative functions which is available in all digital library software, concurrent and dynamic content development, uniform presentations across the pages, publishing on CD-ROM is possible, and Greenstone has an international presence since it's an open source software. Greenstone also claim, like many software when it is introduced, they will claim that easy installation. So I'll be taking you through few steps of installation of Greenstone, the easy installation and easy maintenance, content development. There are 3 alternate ways for content to develop with the Greenstone. The first one is predominantly through the interface GLI. Now it is called through GLI since version 2.41, and hierarchy of structure. There are interface customization, that front page design can be changed, header of the digital library collection can be changed to suit an appearance of which you like for your institute. And every collection can have an icon and a cover image. A book can have the title as an image, title page as an image. In collection configuration, there is collect.cfg file which can be configured, scalability and flexibility, interoperability, that is the crosswalk using the OAI compliance, and some groups like list server, e-group, archives, wikis, all these supports in Greenstone. And what are the software for used to? Suppose I talk about Greenstone, just one software will be sufficient to install in the system to get Greenstone, or associated. You know that many software, Java is a compulsory component because Java runtime is required for the browser support. So Java is to be installed as part of the Greenstone installation. So Java runtime environment, JRE, not full Java. I'm not asking about the full core Java installation, but the support for Java runtime environment is to be installed for Greenstone. ImageMagick, which I discussed, that it's an open software for managing the images, is required. Ghost script is required. Then module for CD-ROM publishing, if you go, that is also required, and additional language pack. Which language? Right now, international language, Spanish, Italian, all this you see, Germany, etc. You see the language pack available. When I'm asking additional language here, I meant to the other foreign languages. And the Greenstone, it support, these are the software. So Greenstone 2.86 can be downloaded from the site called www.greenstone.org. So you need to download 2 software. One is the Greenstone software 2.85, as you can see in the picture. Then the JRE support for, if it is in Windows, JRE support for Windows. So here you see that Greenstone 2.85 is downloaded as an exe file, which is available on my desktop, and JRE 1.5, which is available for my Windows. These 2 softwares are downloaded, kept in a folder called GSDL and software, 2 files. Now we are going to see the Greenstone installation. The sequence of installation is, first we have to install Java, second image, then Ghost script, then Greenstone. So there are 4 steps to install Greenstone. Java, as I mentioned, can be downloaded from java@some.com, and URLs are given with that where from it has to be downloaded. For ImageMagick, it is ImageMagick. Magic spelling is JICK.org. Then Ghost script it from cs.wis.education institute Ghost. That there is a tilde character used on that because it's a user there. In Linux, generally users are referred as tilde Ghost. From there you can download it. And Greenstone 2.86 can be downloaded from Greenstone site, greenstone.org. Java, first check whether any Java is available in your system. Many times Java will be installed. See that whether the versions are okay. Then download from the Java site. Generally Windows asks for a security warning. Whether you want to open this or run. So you have to tell that you want to run. So as the arrow pointed out, click on the run button. Then it will ask for the license agreement. And I'm sure that without reading you will press yes, because license say that many times we don't have time to read all the license agreement. So since it is an open software and tested, you accept the agreement and read it later if you require, and select what kind of, whether you want to custom it or typical. So in the initial level, select a typical installation. So click on typical and click on next button. Then Java J2SE runtime environment 5 is getting installed here. And once installation is completed, you will see that it is completed and finished button. So we are through with step number 1, that is JRE and Java runtime environment installations. So I thank you for patiently listening to this module on Greenstone, GSDL, runtime, and it is up to you as a user, as a librarian, or as a content manager to decide the components to be added in the software and test it. I only request you that, if possible, download this software and test yourself with some sample content before going for further implementation. So I wish you all the best with the digital content and digital library. Thank you.